Hi there, and welcome. Now it's time for America's favorite podcast, Leave Your Mark, with your host, Vince Cortese.
If it's fly, loose fitted, it's Cortese. If freeze and chub is in it, it's Cortese.
Leave Your Mark is about inspiring the world, one guest at a time.
Pass the word from Brooklyn to Pittsburgh, from urban to suburb, it's Cortese, you heard?
And here is our host, Vince Cortese.
This is Leave Your Mark. I'm Vince Cortese, and today's guest is Robert Chelsea and his godson, Everett Brown. Gentlemen, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
What I would like to do here is share a bit of Robert's story. He had facial injuries from an accident that led to a transplant that occurred 6 years earlier when a driver struck his car, causing an explosion and a 30-degree burns over 60% of his body and face. I don't think it gets any more traumatic than that. So what I want to do is touch on your background, Robert, and we'll lead up to that incredible story in just one moment. So what I like to do is share with the audience a little bit about your childhood and your background. Can you share with me where and when life began?
I was born and raised in Los Angeles, about 8 blocks from the University of Southern California, USC. So I could hear the band playing every Saturday morning. You could hear the band practicing before their game years ago. But anyway, I went to Manual Arts High School in Los Angeles and started my first full-time position at a company called IBM.
Okay, let me touch here now. Now, in your childhood, did you have any siblings?
Yes, I have 2 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay, and where are you in the birth order?
My older brother is 16 years older than me on my father's side. So I'm the oldest child from my mother.
Okay.
And then there's my sister and brother.
So you're down in Los Angeles and you're growing up in your neighborhood. What were some of the things you were interested in or some of the activities you took part in?
Well, some sports and getting in trouble, but I wasn't I wasn't a master at trouble, but I did get in a little bit here and there.
Now, you're coming through high school. Did you play in any sports or were you in any of the clubs or any of the school activities?
Yes, but not to any significant degree. I did what other kids did. I was in the government cabinet and a few other, programs that you could participate in, but no major significant.
Okay. Now you graduate high school and you go on. So we were talking a little bit earlier. You said that you got a job with IBM as an administrative assistant. This started your working career, and it sounded like you were with a lot of corporate companies, as Xerox and Canon and so on. So you had a full career before this situation that you found yourself in happened.
That's correct. I didn't graduate, actually. I got the job with IBM. I lied on my application and said I was older than I was and said I had graduated. And fortunately, they didn't check. So, that's how I got the job. I was there for about 4 years, and then I went into sales with several companies, some of the ones that you mentioned, along with other companies. And
what I want to do is I want to jump forward because you basically had a full career. You're saying in 2013, you're 62 years old when you're involved in this accident. So can you remember the day that it happened, where you were going and who you were going with, and kind of bring me in on the story? So you're a full career, a full life, you're a 62-year-old gentleman ready to retire and get on with life. And you got a whole different dimension of life happen to you.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. It was in August 2013. I was on a freeway and I had my car overheated. I thought it was just a hose. So I pulled to the shoulder of the freeway and I saw a drunk driver swerve onto the shoulder. I don't know how many lanes it had crossed over, but he swerved over and ran straight into me. My car was hit, obviously, and my car went up in the air, came down, and it blew up.
Oh my, so you were outside of the car when this happened?
No, I was inside.
You were inside?
Yes.
Now, did you get trapped in the car? Because I mean, when the car starts on fire, the first thing you're worried about is an explosion. And kind of, can you take me through what was going through your mind when this happened?
What was going through my mind, I saw the truck coming and I called out. I just called out, Father. And he said, you're not going to die. And these are all nanoseconds. And the car hit me, it went up in the air, came down. I was okay. And then it blew up. It was like 3 or 4 seconds after the car landed back on the ground. Then it blew up. And he just kind of told me to go to my left. And I told him, these are all in nanoseconds, as I said, well, it's less fire on the right side. But I would have had to gone over the console, the car console and all that. And I said, well, okay, I'll just do what you told me to do. And I went, and it felt like a long tunnel of fire. And I just went and I got out. So I was in the first lane of the freeway, and Richard, a good Samaritan, came and helped me the rest of the way. And he said that he tried to take my arm and to help me get to another area, a safer area, but my arm was melting. So that's kind of, in essence, what happened. The drunk driver, we did try to make sure that he was okay, and he had not been injured at all. So when the fire department came, I was still conscious. I felt some heat, but the heat that I felt was like on my tongue and my chin, I don't know, my knee, just a few places. I had no idea that I was burnt as severely as I was. I told them who I was and who to call. I just thought I was going to get picked up after I got to the hospital and checked out, that somebody would come and pick me up. I laid down on the gurney in the ambulance when I went to sleep, and I didn't wake up till 6 months later.
Oh my, so you went in a coma?
Yes.
Connect with us on LinkedIn. Be our friend on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
Whether jumping out the MP or jumping on the app.
You are listening to Vince Cortese. We just want you to leave your mark.
That's interesting that your threshold of the pain was that you just felt heat. Did you feel anything else besides heat? I mean, it's hard to imagine being on fire, so it's when you're explaining what's going on there, that's just, it's as terrible as it gets.
Well, I think leaving this earth without assurance with our Heavenly Father is as terrible as it gets. So this is another journey, and you are interviewing so many people. You know that so many have, you might say, more severe challenges in certain areas. But nevertheless, I'm so glad that God saw fit to allow me to go in there. He could have let the car swerve away.
Yeah.
It didn't have to hit me, and I still would have been grateful, you know, but because of this experience, Vince, this has been more glorious than, speaking of imagining, you can't imagine the residual benefits that I have received as a result of going through this experience. I use an example. You know, there are so many fish that you and I may have seen in the ocean, and pictures of various fish, plants, plant life, and the animals that are in the sea, and they're so beautiful. Yet we know that there are even greater amount of fish and plants under the sea that we'll never see because we can't go that, the human cannot go that deep. Well, that's kind of how I feel about this. You use the term dimension in my life, where I can now appreciate those elements that the average person never gets a chance to see.
Yeah. Let me do this. I want to drop in with Everett at the point of when he goes to be hospitalized for his falling into coma in the accident. Where were you and what were you thinking when you heard this news?
So I live in New York, so I was on the East Coast, and I remember the day very well. I happened to be in the Hamptons walking along the beach with my wife. And so my mother had said he was involved in a very bad accident. So I had to make a secondary phone call to get the details on just how bad the accident was. And basically what I was told is that I should book a ticket, get to LA, because we didn't know what his situation was.
So you arrive in LA. Now, by the time you got there, was he already in a coma?
So yeah, he was in a coma when I arrived. I did not get there immediately because, I got more information. And so, it was sort of stop and go.
Okay.
As to what the situation was. And so I did eventually get there. By the time I got there, he was well into a coma. I think it was a couple of weeks by the time I arrived.
Now, what was the diagnosis about his burns and how badly he was burned? What was going through your mind when you're hearing that?
So, yeah, for those of us who were not as lucky as he, if I can use the term, or blessed as he to be in a coma, it was very difficult because we were told he wasn't going to make it. And so I, think about, how I felt. It was really hard to kind of come to terms with, we might not see him again. And at the same time, I was corresponding with his daughter, Ebony, who was really scared by the prospects of not being able to see her father again. Rachel, his former wife, was also involved in helping orchestrate a team to make sure he was being taken care of, was also under a great deal of duress. So it was tough. His sister also took it very hard. So everybody was in a state that was really indescribable, but I could tell you it was one of shock and sadness.
With you at this point in the family gathering around, you become his decision makers. So it's like, as a group and listening to that amount of distress, what is your game plan? How do you decide you're going to address this on his behalf?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we were just trying to make sure we were getting the best health care for him. And as I said, we were blessed because he ended up in one of the best hospitals for his situation. And, what's the likelihood of that? And I think as you get to learn his story, you'll start to believe in more of what he's saying, because it's not just coincidence that he ends up at UC Irvine, which is one of the, most accomplished burn centers in the world.
Wow.
And so, we were there. None of us are doctors, And so what Rachel had done was got a lot of us involved, her brother, a legal mind, me, just very curious, his close friends, just to make the most informed decisions that we could, but more importantly, ask the questions. Get as many questions out there to get answers so that we could make the best decision.
Now, 6 months is quite a long time when you're living under that kind of anxiety. You're coming across the country. What kind of adjustments are you making at this point?
So at this point, I'm talking to Rachel almost every single night because I'm back on the East Coast. Rachel's getting all of the calls and sort of transcribing or translating information from the doctor. I also had been given access to talk to doctors directly. But I would say at that point, when he was still in the hospital in what I call that first phase, Rachel was our point of contact. And so my job was really talking to Rachel and keeping her calm and helping her make decisions.
Oh my.
It wasn't until he got his face transplant that I then took on as the lead person of the team.
If you are listening from Australia, Florida, or just from around the corner,
From East Coast to West Coast outlets, if you're not into the dirty South straight, make a left and body.
contact us. Leave your mark with your host, Vince Cortese.
Okay, now the face transplant happens when, while he comes out of the coma, and how shortly thereafter?
No, so, and I'll let Chelsea take over, but I'll cue it up. So he's in a coma for 6 months. During this 6 months, he has over 30 surgeries. So once he comes out of this hospital, he goes into another hospital for recovery. So then at some point, and I'll let you take over, Chelsea, you know, he comes out of the hospital and he starts living as best as possible a normal life, but he's disfigured from the accident.
Okay, Robert. So now you're out of the hospital and life's beginning again. What's going on with you? What are you thinking?
Well, just a point of information. UCI, I stayed from August to December. I was still in a coma, and they sent me to another hospital called Kindred. That's a long-term hospital because they couldn't do anything else, and they figured I would die because my organs, none of them improved. So I went to the long-term Kindred, and 2 months after that is when I woke up from the coma. From that point, I ended up staying in the hospitals, the several hospitals, a total of 6. I mean, a total of a year and a half. So I never really saw light of day for a year and a half.
My goodness. Now, I want to kind of go back a minute. So he was in a coma and they were giving him operations while he was in a coma?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know the technical terms of whether they leave him in the coma, but a part of it, the reason why, you know, I think, Chelsea, at some point it was an induced coma because of the trauma. So I'm not sure, you know, whether or not when you go into surgery, they bring you out of the coma or not. But yes, there were surgeries happening.
Okay, so you go through this whole process, you come out of Irvine, you're living again. Life has a new meaning entirely to you, and you experience basically a face transformation. We have to bring you back to looking as normal as possible. And what goes on? I mean, you hear of organ donors of all kinds, but it's very rare to hear somebody who's donating their face. So, I mean, you know, can you run me through the process of getting to work back towards looking as normal as possible again?
Well, during this, I was discharged from the hospital in November 2014. I was in the hospital from August 13th, August 2013 to November 2014. I then was discharged to my sister, who lives in a desert area. You might be familiar with Victorville, Hysteria, It's what's called
And towards
high desert. And so I stayed with her for about 3 years, a little more than 3 years. And that was during my recovery as a burn survivor.
wow.
That's where I got, all the attention that I needed, at least in terms of caregiving and so on, in the high desert area, and all the, you wouldn't imagine the number of doctors that I saw, because I had to have private insurance, which cost a great deal. Then I got Kaiser. So all these different evaluations led me to realize they wouldn't be able to do anything for my face in terms of plastic surgery because my lips were completely burned off and part of my tongue also. So they said they could only give something that would provide a flap to cover my gums and teeth so that the dust and all that wouldn't go in. People asked me before that, well, why don't you just wear a mask? So wearing a mask like that, your mask wets up because your saliva will just wet the mask up within 5 minutes. You have to change your mask. So I just continued to walk around with no lips showing.
How long does in one of your bios it said you didn't have a face for 6 years? So is that a progression thing? Or I mean, that's hard to imagine, at any given time in your life not having a face, let alone that length of time.
Let me just add, because as you told the story, Chelsea, you didn't put the emphasis, and I just want to underscore, by not having lips, he could not eat and drink, meaning he couldn't hold food or drink. So he had to basically almost lie down in order to take food in.
Oh my.
It was hard for him to chew. So yeah, there's the physical part that you're getting at, in terms of what he looked like, but there was also the functional part that I think is even more challenging when you get right down to it.
I had to do like this. I had the syringe if you want to see it, but that's how I had to drink. It's a long syringe, and I would drink like that. And when I eat, I'd have to eat like this because the food would just come right out.
Come back out.
Not having it in your lips.
Yeah.
You put it in, it just comes right back out.
Now, let me ask you this. At this point, are you able to hold weight? Because you're realizing you're not going to have as much intake on food. Were you losing weight? Losing weight usually means losing strength. Like, what was going on at that point?
Everything that you just mentioned. But, the healthier I got through therapies and so on, I was able to walk a mile and, able to get around and so on. Yeah.
I mean, the idea you could go that far, that's remarkable. So you're in a healing process, and you touched on it a little bit, and you referenced this as not a bad thing in your life, but as a blessing. Can you get into your mindset of, you're going microcosm to microcosm. Now we're going day to day, week to week, year to year. You've put together a life again. Like, can you share with me mentally where you were when you really started to rebuild your life again?
Yes, I'm not sure I would call it rebuild. It's a new life.
Yeah.
It's a new life, By God's grace, He let me see more than I could have seen before. I appreciate, and I was able to differentiate between what is worthwhile to pursue and what wasn't. I've danced before, so I know how to dance. I don't need to learn how to dance again. I don't need to go back to whatever I was. By God's grace, He gave me an opportunity to live a new thing, to be introduced to a new walk. It's like meeting you. Well, you're such a nice guy. Why would I want to try to go back to meeting or getting back with something undesirable? So I was able to follow, if you will, the leading or the opening opportunity that he had provided. Ricky and I had never had a chance to work together. I mean, on projects. He had his own life. He grew up, he's independent and started his business. I didn't have a chance to contribute to it or to interact with him. Now I do. It's just, it's like discovering, you go to what people would say is a valley experience, and yet I discovered there's lilies in the valley.
Yeah, and I was just going to describe from my vantage point, it's been a journey, and where he is now is recovery. So I wouldn't use past tense. I think he's still in the throes of it. And because he's so upbeat and has a great spirit, it may look like he's rebuilt his life, but we're actually in the state of recovery.
This is absolutely incredible, because this is just, it's not anything that you hear about every day or even in a lifetime. So to witness Robert now and seeing his spirit shine the way that it is, that's as inspirational as it gets.
It is amazing. It is when you learn what he goes through on a day-to-day basis, and then see him have a conversation with you and totally discount, his medicine regimen. People coming in to take his blood, to have transfusions, prescriptions changing almost on a daily basis, having to eat certain things that you couldn't eat. I mean, you can't eat now, but you could eat in the past. I mean, it goes on, and that's underscored with not having an ability to create income. So that's why I say we're in the throes of recovery now, as opposed to having thoroughly rebuilt. But we're in a positive state of mind, as they say.
If you have a story to share, tell us. How are you going to leave your mark? Contact us. Leave your mark with our host, Vince Cortese. Be our guest.
Yeah. Now, as far as moving forward, what kind of future plans do you have, Robert, with what you're going to be doing?
I'm in pursuit of advocating for more. I'd like to have more people like myself. I don't mean more people like the color of my skin, but more people that are disabled have an opportunity to live a normal life.
Right.
If one eye can save 8 others' eyes, then let's advocate for more donors to contribute eyes. If a heart can put a person back on the market, if you will, be able to live a productive life, build his self-esteem, and be able to encourage others, then why not help them out? So that's my mission, if you will, to make sure that others have the same benefit that I have received. And I know it's possible now because, I'm just the first. And we certainly hope that there are more that will have, if need be, face transplant. By the way, the military has a minimum of 350 candidates right now for face transplant.
Wow.
And the reason why I got mine is there was a grant the Department of Justice gave Brigham Women's Hospital the contract to do 10 face transplants for 100% success. And as a result of that, they were successful at that. But the Department of Defense gave that to them because they had 350 candidates just waiting to get their own face transplants.
Oh,
so we want to make sure that we encourage our whole community, not just for our military. What about the other militaries?
mm-hmm.
What about the other disabled?
Mm-hmm.
See, we have our healthcare system, whether it's the best or not, it far exceeds so many others. But what about them?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to make sure that what we speak on is global and not, oh, Robert's mission. Robert has no special. God made it available for all the disabled to be exposed to this, at least to be exposed or realize that there's possibilities that they never imagined before.
Wow. Well, I want to do this. I want to thank Everett for being on here. And I want to give a shout out to him and his wife and their interior design business in New York. They got quite a business going there, but even on a bigger side is their hearts and their love for their godfather. And you're remarkable people to step in and do what you did and be his eyes and ears as well as times his heart. So you're a special man, you and your wife, and Robert's lucky to have the family support that he did. What I do at the end of our interviews here is we ask our guests, and this would be Robert, how would you like to leave your mark? How would you like to be remembered?
As giving my best.
That's a good place to end. And I have to do my job, which is support him. And that is really saying, if the story touches you and means something to you and you want to help in Robert's quest to help those who are helping others, please go to his website, robertchelsea.com. If it so moves you, give a donation. I mean, .org, sorry, robertchelsea.org. See, he helps me sometimes.
We'll put it on the links. He's good.
Thank you, though. We appreciate you.
He got your back too. That's good. This is an incredible story. I thank you so much for sharing with me, and I'll pray for you guys. We want to stay in touch with your story. It's remarkable, and appreciate both of you. So,
thank you.
Thank Debbie for me also.
I will. I'll tell her. Okay, you gentlemen have a great day, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to Leave Your Mark today. Tune into our next episode of Leave Your Mark with Vince Cortese. Be blessed.
You just left your mark. Thanks for listening. Listen to more episodes on demand. Just click Leave Your Mark with Vince Cortese.